Hi pals, it's me, Artie, they them pronouns only, and I'm trying a different angle in my room today. As I said last week, I find sitting on the floor more comfortable than sitting on my bed, so I thought, well, if I have room on my floor, then why not try that instead? My video this week is inspired by something that happened kind of a while ago and something that keeps coming up generally with this celebrity especially, but like also other celebrities too. But it is about Selena Gomez and a lot of the weird fat phobia and combined ableism that people like to project onto her because of her changing body type. So a while back I saw this tweet about Selena Gomez that says, "I give more grace to an average fat person than a fat famous person. She absolutely could look skinny again if she cared. She has absolutely all the resources in the world to look any way she wants to, and deciding not to is being lazy." Pretty swiftly there was a note added. That's the one improvement that Twitter has seen since this man took over, is people being able to add community notes, including references and stuff. So the note that was added explained that Selena has an autoimmune condition called lupus and she has had a kidney transplant. Selena often has weight fluctuations due to medications she is put on, like steroids, and it is a common misconception that people can prevent this weight gain or fluctuation. I've been open about my own experiences of being on different medications, but especially steroids. You can go and watch those videos for more of my own personal experiences, but also, yeah, how that has impacted my body overall. And through it, I continue to make YouTube videos, and I have also had some similar reactions of fat phobia and ignorance of disability in response to me just being seen. People seeing me on the screen. The reason I've been on steroids, particularly high dose steroids, and the reason why Selena has been on steroids as well, are probably quite similar. Steroids are usually the most immediately effective medication for autoimmune disorder flare-ups. When an autoimmune disorder flares up and gets out of control, it can be immediately life-threatening or cause other issues such as further disability or illness. This is probably also why Selena needed a kidney transplant. And the side effects that I have personally experienced are, and this is probably like just a small list of the last 4 years of my experience, but the side effects that I've experienced are things like acid reflux, really deep hunger, water retention and weight gain, unable to sleep, also weight gain in like really specific areas of the body, so like moon face, upper arms, neck, like my whole torso generally, feeling very wired or lots of excess energy, things like constipation as well. And honestly, the list does go on and everyone has their own varied experience. There are some people who become incredibly mentally unwell due to steroids, and there are some people steroids literally do nothing for their autoimmune condition. The original photos that were posted by Selena initially, where she was talking about how she would likely never look like her teenage body ever again, and there are many reasons for why she won't look like that again. One of them is bodies change as you age anyway, regardless of disability or chronic illness. Selena will be 32 this July, which isn't old, but there is a lot of significant body changes that people experience around their late 20s into their 30s, but also she is chronically ill with a condition that has no cure that she will have to manage for the rest of her life. The second photo then says, "I'm not perfect, but I'm proud to be who I am. Sometimes I forget it's okay to be me." I'd like to bring up some really obvious statements before I continue with any further like analysis of this. Yes, she is rich. She's rich enough to access surgery to change her body. However, often surgery can trigger autoimmune conditions. Surgery can cause a flare-up, and also surgery is risky when you're on immune suppressing meds. I don't know if she is on anything else, and I don't even know if she's actually on steroids, you know, currently. But surgery is more risky when you're on immune suppressing medications because your healing is slower and you're more likely to pick up infections and less likely to be able to fight them off, which is really dangerous. And antibiotics can cause their own issues as well. Especially if this is something you've dealt with quite a lot with your autoimmune condition, you may have developed a resistance to certain antibiotics as well, which is another thing that has to be kept in mind if you do get infections. And however, even though her body is bigger than it has been or was, particularly as like a teenager when she was like, you know, height of, I don't know, Disney stardom, I guess. She is by no means fat. She is much more of like maybe an average or like a small average mid-size. She's definitely not like the average size of an American woman or a British woman. I think in the UK, I think it's the same size, but it's a slightly different actual real life size. I think in the UK and America, its sizes 16 to 18-ish is like the average like woman's sizing. But obviously in America, I think it's like a size up clothing wise. In the real world, not on the internet, not in celebrity world, in the real world with normal people, she still passes as slim. And nobody would really bat an eyelid if she wasn't a celebrity and she was, you know, out on the beach or at the pool with the body that she is in these photos. But the standards have been set because she's a celebrity, because she was a celebrity at a very young age, and we have certain expectations of what celebrity bodies should look like, as well as like the lovers they pick, and it's all like a very narrow expectation of human bodies. And just a like quick side note, I haven't personally read this book yet, but I do plan to, and I think it's probably very relevant to this topic in general. But Fearing the Black Body, much of our standards are based in which is racist, fatphobic and ableist. So I highly recommend people go and pick up that book, whether it's from a library, borrowing it from a friend, or purchasing your own copy, because I think it will explain a lot of these standards and picking apart where they sort of developed from. I don't blame people for not knowing all about Selena Gomez's health history, or mine, but I do expect people to shut the fuck up about other people's bodies, especially with people you don't fucking know. As I posted a while back when laughing about this fatphobic comment I had in a video mid last year, so mid 2023. The video was also about my ADHD medication experience and had absolutely nothing to do with my body or my weight. How would you feel if you had almost died from your own body attacking itself, entirely out of your own control, but the one thing within your control is to take steroids at your doctor's recommendation to save your life? And in my specific circumstance, have had to remain on them for several years, going up and down in dose to keep the condition under control whilst trying to navigate other medication options to slowly wean off steroids. I think I've recently just surpassed my 4 years of being on steroids, and I am now starting again the very slow journey of tapering off of the last 5 milligrams, as I am now on a new medication. So instead of mecaptopurine, I'm on azathioprine now, and we're hoping that that's a better fit. Overall, I think there are like very, very few legitimate reasons to be commenting on other people's bodies. Plus, most of you are very uneducated on fat bodies. Basically, there are more recent studies that do show and prove that being fat is better for you, like health-wise, for longevity, than being healthy or normal weight, and definitely better than being underweight. Some podcasts that are useful on this as well are The Fat Doctor and The Maintenance Phase. They also, I'm pretty sure they all include their own references and sources. I don't think you should just take what I say at my word. So that's why I provide my own sources for what I've been looking into. I understand there are barriers to understanding and looking into research and understanding the language, knowing what's a good source, etc., and being able to think critically even about good sources. So I do my best to also include what I know, what I've looked up, and also some criticisms of some of those things based on my own experiences, as well as some other shortfallings that I have noticed as just a generally analytical thinker and research enthusiast. But some examples of why and how being fatter are better for you are things like literal cushioning in accidents, as well as some leeway weight if you become severely ill. So something I have mentioned in my own experience is that my gastro has said that they prefer Crohn's patients to be a little bit on the fatter side, because in a lot of Crohn's flare-ups you tend to drop weight really quickly, and I think that's relatively common across the board for autoimmune conditions anyway, is that a lot of flare-ups can cause you to just drop weight out of nowhere. He's said that directly to me, that they prefer patients to be fatter, because then you have a little bit more time before it gets to critical must act now, so you have more time to find out what it is that's going on before it becomes a really dire situation. This is also true for, you know, if you do get into an accident, if you are in a coma, or if you are laid up on bed rest or unable to eat, etc., you have more more literal body tissue that your body can sort of rely on to take care of itself. And this is just a few examples. There are quite a lot of other examples as well, but that's just off the top of my head. Body fat does not automatically equal ill health either, and it also doesn't equal it being your own fault. Fat can often be genetic. Your weight can be genetic. Where you hold fat can be genetic. It can also be related to health conditions. So even if you do have the healthiest lifestyle ever, you eat all the right perfect foods and do all the right amount of exercise every day, it won't change your body shape or type. The steroids just cling on to all of that water and all of that body fat generally, and just does not let it go until you start tapering off. If you look at even just my thumbnails from the last couple of years, you can see my weight changing. Actually, to be fair, you can definitely see it go up and down since, early 2020 to now. You can see my weight fluctuating quite a lot, and that's basically all to do with steroids. And like I said, I'm now on the 5 milligrams, and I have been for a while now, and my weight has slowly tapered off a little bit, and we may be seeing more changes now. I'm planning to taper down more, and you will see that when I have a more puffier face or more of a double chin, that's when I've been on higher doses of steroids for a longer period of time. There are also studies that show that dieting, 1, doesn't work, and 2, causes more stress on your body and can actually trigger health issues due to the excess stress. I'd had these images saved for a while, but thought again about making this due to starting to watch a show that Selena does star in, Only Murders in the Building. And I noticed that she looked similar to these photos in the actual show as well. And I also just really haven't watched her in anything since Wizards of Waverly Place and Spring Breakers. It made me feel really pleased and kind of validated in some ways. Like I said, she's not plus size. She is not fat, but she is more of an average sized person that we would see in the real world, which we don't really see a lot of on TV. And it is nice to see a woman who has a chronic illness and who has gained some weight or clothing sizes, and her weight does fluctuate, still having an acting career and still working alongside so many big names, whilst also being basically one of the leading characters. There has been a seemingly clear change in her character's wardrobe, though, compared to what we usually see. She is in a more current day stylish oversized clothing versus what we usually see, which is much more skin tight, tiny outfits, cropped tops and stuff like that. And I'm all for people wearing whatever they feel comfortable in. Obviously, I don't know if she had any say in the costuming, because if she did have a say and that's just what she felt more comfortable in, then all for it. Very chill. And yeah, I really don't mind seeing her in such a different kind of costuming. It does also make some sense as well. The show is based in New York, and so obviously New York does have really cold winters, so it does make sense to layer up and have bigger jumpers, bigger coats and things like that. Like I said, I don't mind seeing this because it does show us options. I think media often refuses to see the options even in fashion because it's not what they have always done, and their main kind of selling point is usually to do with how the main actors look a lot of the time, especially if they're a woman. or especially if it's a rom-com. You know, I've definitely read quite a lot about how Channing Tatum has had to go through really grueling regimes when it comes to starring in rom-coms, because like he's known for that body. And how he's getting older, he's just like, you know, I just don't really want to be doing that anymore.
Channing Tatum also specifically says in this interview, I don't know how people who work a 9 to 5 actually stay in shape because it's my full-time job and I can barely do it. So if he's saying that getting or staying fit is his full-time job, and he doesn't know how like normal people do it, I don't really know. I don't really know what else to say to that, you know, like he's said it all.
Yeah, I think generally the industry known as like the creative industry is kind of not as creative as we think it is. They are very traditional and stuck in their ways, actually kind of conservative in many aspects. And one of them is based on how they expect certain people to dress and look. And what they expect their actors to be doing and looking like, even if the role isn't necessarily to do with their body or sex appeal, I guess. Also, there are beauty benefits to being fatter. You might have noticed that Selena's face in some of her more recent photos look quite different. Now, I'm not a qualified person in the slightest to comment on things like Botox or filler. Fat does help prevent you aging quite as quickly, especially in the face, because when you have more fat in your face to fill out some of those more obvious telltale signs of aging, so that includes things like wrinkles, that includes like around the eye sockets, like in the cheekbones, around, you know, your forehead and stuff like that, and around your neck. I do tend to find people's necks age them quite a lot. So fat fills in those parts of your body, because yeah, if you have more fat in your face to fill out those parts of your body, you tend to have a more youthful look for way longer, versus people who are very slim or lacking in facial fat in particular can look quite a bit older. I think that's something that has been discussed quite a lot with the buccal fat removal trend. A couple of YouTubers whose name I really can't remember right now, so I'll put them on the screen, but I'll also include those in my resources, who have talked about the look of certain procedures making people look a lot older. One of them is a plastic surgeon, so he's definitely qualified to be talking about it. So yeah, if Selena has been on steroids and that is what her face looks like just from the steroids causing moon face and weight gain, this literally just could be what steroids, water retention and moon face just looks like on a slimmer body, because generally most of the time I see it on people who are already like mid to average size or bordering into plus size, because yeah, a lot of the times we all get the extra little bit of a chin, have a lot more more body going on, whereas I do feel like she is still walking around with quite a cut jawline, for example, isn't rocking a second chin and tends to look more flat. She has got the she does have the privilege of great styling, whether it's on the TV shows or on red carpets, so she can sort of hide the parts that she may not be super comfortable with, or be able to find clothes that make her feel more confident and comfortable in herself as she is at this size and weight. But yeah, the reference I made to Botox is that her face looks like she could possibly have had some Botox or filler, but it also very much could just be the effects of steroid moon face.
She has been quite open about having Botox. It looks like she probably had it around her sort of eyebrow area, because that's the main bit that I personally notice in more recent photos. But the reason why I mentioned that it could, you know, be mistaken or confused by steroid moon face is because you do tend to just, I don't know, you just look a bit more smooth, I guess, and filled out. So yeah, either way, she's had Botox, but it looks a bit more noticeable when she is on the maybe higher end of her weight range versus lower, particularly looking at some of the photos I have here of her like on the show or doing like public appearances.
You can also see that her face does vary in plumpness or roundness throughout the 3 seasons that are currently out of Only Murders in the Building, which could be due to fluctuations in weight, possibly from needing more treatment for her lupus or coming off of that treatment because she's going into recovery. You know, there are all sorts of reasons that could be possible, but as the main point is about her health and her repeated need for going on steroids, that's my main point really that I want to make. But yeah, anyway, like overall, this video, my point is just stop being so fat phobic and rude. Commenting on people's bodies like it's your business. You know, like this video, I just wanted to debunk some of the common reasonings that people have for hating on fat people or skinny people who have put on some weight and are still considered like skinny in like the real normal world outside. Because it is really frustrating like watching the people who have been somewhat open about their health experiences from their place of privilege and still getting such violent vitriol at times about how they're just lazy. Some people argue that laziness isn't a thing. I personally think laziness is a thing, but it's more so reserved for actually able-bodied, neurotypical capitalists, really, more so than anything else. Because when you're chronically ill, doing anything is a lot of work. I think Lady Gaga's documentary is a good example of that she talks about how she really struggles with her fibromyalgia and really needs like very high maintenance kinds of care, usually massage, quite regularly, and before and after things like performances or rehearsals or whatever, especially when she's flaring. But she also acknowledges the fact that she struggles even with all this support. But what if she didn't have access to all that support? She acknowledges that she can't imagine what it's like to live as a normal person with fibromyalgia, for example. It's the same thing, really, that like, you know, even with all the privileges in the world, Selena Gomez still has her own struggles when it comes to her health. And also when it comes to just how people like respond and treat her based on like some photos that she or somebody else might have posted. This can happen to like normal people who aren't celebrities at all. Like if you just have a public Instagram account and just post photos of you on holiday, you can get any stranger turning up and saying the most volatile, violent, disgusting shit because they feel like they can. And like I've said, I've had plenty of that here. I've had it on my YouTube channel, I've had it on TikTok, I've had it on Instagram, I've had it on Twitter, I've had it on Tumblr, I've literally had it all over the internet. I'm at a point where I'm just like, I don't really give a shit what you say or you think of my body. Because like I said at the very start of this video, if it wasn't for steroids, I'd be fucking dead. And actually, I'd rather be here and piss you off. I'd rather be here and piss you off. Like, being fat is difficult. And I would definitely say that I'm drifting out of the plus size category again. I'm definitely coming back down into the mid-size sort of clothing range. But speaking as somebody who has been in and out of that range through different kinds of body positivity and not, it always sucks to be a fat person. Whether it's because the world's not built for people of your size, clothes are not built for your size, you don't have the same access to things, the prejudice in healthcare. Like, even before I started steroids, I was considered overweight by the BMI, which is also fucking bullshit. And that caused so much prejudice that enter this classic video, I've been turned away from healthcare because I'm just fat, and the pain is just because I'm fat and because I'm hypermobile. And it turns out to be a rare form of vasculitis called Takayasu's arteritis. That's what I call lazy. Position of privilege and bigotry that you turn away somebody who was crying in your office about having such poor quality of life due to the health conditions they already knew they had, but also this new mysterious one that's been going on with the arm pain. You turning them away and saying it's just this and you're fat. And that was when I was much slimmer than I am now, much slimmer than I was in my like highest weight ranges on steroids. And it goes the same way. A lot of the times people like to bring up, my blood sugars must be bad. I must be at risk of diabetes. I get my blood sugars tested every year because I'm on steroids. Steroids can cause you to develop diabetes. So it's tested every year, and every year it's completely fine. But what I mean by it can go the other way is that slim, skinny, healthy weight range people can get turned away and not even thought like, oh, you could possibly have diabetes, let's check that, because their bodies are small. People associate fat bodies with type 2 diabetes specifically, and skinny people cannot possibly get type 2 diabetes, which is absolutely incorrect. So there are people who become very ill or even die because their type 2 diabetes is missed because they're slim. That's what fat phobia does. It hurts everybody, just like patriarchy hurts everybody. Misogyny and sexism hurts everybody. Transphobia hurts everybody. Homophobia hurts everybody. You know, I could carry on forever and ever and ever. Bigotry hurts everybody because if you don't fit perfectly the kinds of boxes that you're supposed to fit in, which biology does not give a fuck about, mate. Biology does not care. Biology exists separately to social ideals, really. It should do. However, social ideals do inform our version of biology. That's why a lot of the newer research is saying things that are vastly different to what we've been saying or thinking was true for years and years and years. But that's basically the gist of my video. Stop talking about people's bodies, educate yourselves a bit more on these topics, especially educate yourselves on fat phobia and ableism.
I think my main point as well is literally just the people are commenting on people they do not know with histories they do not know anything about. That's the main thing I'm talking about. Stop talking about things that you know nothing about. You don't know these other people, so you're just talking shit.
And help us make some societal change, because I'm fed up. I'm fed up. And I'm not, I also just, like, my final point, I'm not a Selena Gomez stan. Like I said, I've watched like maybe 3 things she's been in. I don't really care much about most celebrities. Like, there are definitely some people that I'm like, wow, you're really skilled and talented, I really like that, or like I really like your vibe, or what you appear to be standing for. But like, I'm not a stan defending Selena. I'm somebody defending everybody else who is dealing with fat phobia and ableism in the same way.
My wording is really strange there. I don't really mean defending, but I can't really think what the word is that I want to use. But I mean, I guess I'm just like acknowledging this situation because it's a thing that a lot of people have to deal with, not just celebrities.
And that's just kind of it. So, like the video, usual disclaimer for comments, if you're going to be a shitbag, I'm going to take the piss out of you and block you. But feel free to leave comments. Let me know if you have any questions or any other thoughts on this particular topic. I will include as many sources as I can find in the description of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share my videos. And that's my video for this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.